Hello everybody and welcome back to another sort of commentary and final thoughts, a tour of the city. This is of Woodgarden here. This is the first city that we did with the Industries DLC that just came out a few weeks ago. And this was our starting tile. So we only spent a few weeks on this city because for the most part we were playing vanilla. I mean, we have a couple, essential mods like move it and find road tools and things like that, but we do not have realistic population. We do not have traffic manager mods, so everything, all the traffic management we had to do with, in regards to the base game AI. But this ended up being a fun little 2-week city, for sure. This is literally the tile that we started on. We're listening to the new Industries Synthetic Dawn radio station. It should be just kind of quietly in the background. Hopefully that's not too loud. Yeah, so we ended up starting off here, and like every city, right? It starts off with this sort of one-way loop. And in this case, we actually had it sort of two different one-way bridges. We could have just had this actually be a road, to be honest, but it comes in here. And it doesn't really loop at this point, but it's sort of, you can kind of imagine the loop kind of continues. One of the stories on the main loop, we do have commercial here with a residential neighborhood. And the industry that we ended up starting off with was indeed the agriculture, but at the time this was all like there was a line right here. We couldn't build north of this spot, so this is what we ended up putting down. I mean it looks okay. We didn't try to make it look amazing. It wasn't the goal of this. The goal was just to get it down. This was the first day. We were just trying to see what it looks like, and then later we kind of came by and expanded on this much later and made it look a lot better. Just put in a little water area here. Put in a bunch more animal raising fields, because one of the things with the industry is it's very easy to produce a lot of the raw material. So it's, you kind of have to create a lot of secondary processing, which in this case, these animal fields are secondary processing. However, yeah, the balance, I wish you had to make more of the fields, but you just don't, unfortunately. We have these little worker barracks out here in these little camps, which is kind of neat, I think. And then we have the flour mills and the slaughterhouses and such. So yeah, that's kind of our first industrial area. This used to actually be dirty industry, but we ended up pushing that to somewhere else. And this is just sort of a big utility area, park maintenance buildings, power, recycling. That all sort of came later. The bulk of the city at the beginning was, of course, just this neighborhood with this commercial strip. And then the commercial sort of grew into this nice little, it's almost kind of like a fidget spinner, sort of, kind of, unintentionally so, but I like this internal commercial area quite a bit. We have some offices here. We never got these fully upgraded, but I believe the commercial is mostly level 3. Mostly level 3. The residential bits kind of continue to go around. They kind of loop around the city here. There's these tunnels that sort of pop out. One pops out here. One pops out here. We have this nice little sort of eco-housing up on this plateau. Would have been nice to get some trees in here. It never really came back and put the trees around that neighborhood like I think it really needed. Some eco-housing over here. Overall, the residential neighborhood is kind of a big loop. I like the fact that this is all low dense too. We ended up putting in sort of like the schooling campuses here. We have a nice little post office here with kind of a very uneven parking lot there. But this is sort of like, our first university, your first high school, things like that. Nothing crazy, just putting a little fence in there, just a tiny bit of detail, a little parking lot or two, even though we didn't really level out the terrain very well to make that look great. But yeah, I'm actually really happy with this island. This is one of I don't know, this sort of commercial bit in here, this road system and the main neighborhoods. Really like how that all played out. I think then we ended up coming over here in making the quarry, which I think is one of the coolest things of the city for sure. So using the ore industry assets, right? These are all the primary extractors. And this is like a storage bit. These are some worker barracks, primary extractor. This is gathering it from the floor of the river, I guess, the river floor. There's some nice little, did some little detailing here. Nothing too crazy. These are little extractor things, but I think when you combine them, when you like combine this asset and you smash it up against this asset, you add in some rocks here, it really kind of makes it look a lot better. We maybe needed more rocks in here, but the amount of rocks I think we would have needed to make it look great would have been too many. It just kind of wasn't And then it would kind of look silly because then there was 1,000 rocks. I don't know. It was kind of a delicate balancing act. I ended up kind of going with no rocks or less rocks. But these are, yeah, this is kind of where we're gathering the primary material. And this is kind of where we're processing it. We barely just started getting this traffic issue here. It's partly because we can't control, like we can't guide the, we can't do alternate lane usage. Everybody's just piling up in the same lane. Typical AI for vanilla traffic, right? If we had traffic manager mod, we could fix this. I don't like the building layout, but I do like the road layout here. I like these trapezoids that we ended up doing. So the road layout, thumbs up. The building placement there is terrible. We have a secondary processing area here with the actual this factory here, which is for steel factory. So metals go in, steel comes out as a tertiary good, and then that just gets sold at a premium. So I like how we ended up designing this bit here. Not so much the other bit. Kind of a space issue. We really needed more secondary processing, but we just didn't have the space. That's why I was kind of just dumping stuff out here randomly. We ended up coming along over here. This was our first kind of real substantial office area in this sort of water droplet with the Illuminati Park kind of thing going on. I actually really like how this park came out. I like how we jammed all these rocks together. Kind of nice. You know, you can go climbing on these rocks and stuff like that. Really nice little park, actually. Pretty happy with that. Some services tucked over here in this little bit just to service these offices to try to get them to level 3. It seems very, very difficult to get the offices up to level 3. We do have some level 3 offices in the city, but not there, unfortunately. Here we have some commercial on this main road. So we're like 3 little bits of commercial and 3 bits of high-dense residential. The first high-dense residential that we did in the city. Sort of a little buffer zone with trees and services in between. But, you know, here in this case, we have this nice little pedestrian sort of bridge network, sky network that gets them around and stuff. I don't know if we continue that on for every single one. Nope, it looks like we just did it for the first one. Nice little peddler spawn here. This was actually the first park we ever made. It's burned down probably 5 or 6 times, but right now it's looking good. That'd actually be really sad if Jankyville was burned down. That'd be really sad. We do have these little, like, as you can see, though, we ended up tolling this road here that's a little bit faster in favor of this road that's sort of like a little bit less efficient, but you can go, you can get everywhere without being tolled. But we do have sort of like this express lane or express highway that comes through if you're willing to be tolled. So and then if you want to go through the tolls again, you come through here, and this sort of lets you zip through. Looks like the radio has a bit of a commercial loop here. So you can kind of zip up here. Lots of toll roads, right? Because the toll roads are free with the Industries DLC. So we're definitely experimenting with those and stuff. So you could take this slow, windy road, right, all the way up. Or you could take this little toll and you sort of bypass this neighborhood here. But if you need to go to this neighborhood, then you'll take the slow road, right? If you need to bypass it, then you'll probably take the faster road, zip on up, which is pretty cool. We have these sort of plateaus up here, right? These are almost kind of like little plateaus here, slowly getting higher. And then there's this low-dense residential here tucked in there. Then there's a sort of a sustainable housing up here tucked in. We have commercial around the back on this plateau around the back, though, with the posh mall, which is kind of nice. Is there not like a skip feature on the thing? Well, I guess we're just listening to some of the commercials. Hey, this is Janky Falls, though. Pretty happy with how this turned out. People were critiquing. Lots of Twitch chat was critiquing whether or not this was actually a waterfall or not, but I'm still calling it a waterfall. Janky Falls turned out pretty well. The falls actually came later, but this is a cool little park. Here we have some sort of park maintenance utility bits here. People can kind of walk up here, or they could take this little tunnel and sort of pop out the back. The problem was there wasn't much of a reason to do this. There is a walking tour, so sometimes you can find people walking on this, but not often. And then we do have a little lookout observatory area here, little bits of water activities here, some more on this end if you're, to get people to walk on this outer road instead of just cut across this main bridge. Rock climbing down here in this bit. Looks like the seagulls are kind of like, this kind of freaks out the seagulls a little bit. Some campsites that are off the main road. So here's the main road, sorry, right here. Little campsites off to the sides, kind of cool. Janky Falls definitely turned out pretty well. We've done a lot of cool nature parks, but I like this one quite a bit. It's really, one of the things we did with the city is we did a lot of work with the terrain. Sort of inspired by Chatskade, how we had that mountain plateau city. Like we had all those different plateaus around that mountain. Kind of ended up taking a lot of inspiration from that and doing it on a much larger scale, which is pretty cool. The last thing we ended up doing in the city, we're kind of going out of chronological order here, was we ended up putting in some developing down here. This is supposed to be sort of the tourist area. Lots of hotels and stuff. There wasn't much of a rhyme or reason to it, but it is right across from the actual airport here. And there's some leisure, the airport, lots of public transportation in these areas, lots of public transportation, some housing out here so that, you know, these areas could have workers. I kind of actually like the road network through this area. I think it looks pretty good. I think it's interesting. Lots of roads that you would think connect but don't connect. You know, like they don't connect here, and it just kind of, they don't connect here, but it all kind of like, it all looks like it kind of fits together, but it's non-grid, right? It's like, it's just this off-grid. There's some curves in there, a little bit of industrial here just to kind of complete the whole vibe. Looks like it's recovering from a fire though. So that's kind of this whole area here. So there's sort of like three sections of the city, right? There's A, and then there's B, but then there's sort of C and beyond. We did end up later on, we ended up putting in the college, University Island, I guess, it has an observatory here for, I guess, the astronomy majors and such. Physics and astronomy majors. We have some, like, you know, on-campus housing, I guess, but also dormitories. I don't know why these leveled up to level 5, except for the fact that there's a lot of services on this island, like tons of parks and things, so I guess it kind of makes sense, but it probably needed to keep a high-rise ban on. That probably would have looked better, but that's kind of the idea, is that these looked better originally, but these are like the dormitories. We have the Modern Technology Institute here. We have the Grand Library. Maybe this is like, this is just an office building, but maybe this is like a, maybe this is like the business college, you know, the Natural Science, College of Natural Sciences, Art College, some faculty areas here, sporting complex here. We have a couple different sort of tracks, which is pretty neat, I think. Some parking that no one uses because we don't have the mods to make them use it. A little research center over here. Some on-campus police. A bike path that goes all the way, like sort of biking paths and walking paths that go sort of all the way around. The bike path actually does do a full loop, which is really cool. So I'm really happy with how University Island turned out. This is sort of just like a utility island. Bunch of, you know, anti-fire, helicopter fire stations here for protecting the parks, as the parks, you know, having those burned down over and over is always really, really sad. And we have the disaster response unit does it just so that they can sort of help us rebuild those parks a lot quicker. Here we're coming up to sort of section C, I guess, where we have this skinny little industrial area. This is where most of our normal industry is that creates goods, right, for a commercial bit. So I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Very interesting. We sort of just zoning one little side at a time, leaving a lot of trees. I think it turned out looking great. A really awesome pedestrian sky network through here as well. And we also have biking paths on the sides here, and we actually have people biking there, which is pretty cool. We have the lemonade factory that's always complaining about not getting enough goods, despite the fact that there's a warehouse right here and a storage shed right here for crops and glass, and that's what the lemonade factory needs, is crops and glass. But yeah, lots of, you know, just sort of general industry stuff, right? We ended up putting in one of the new cargo hub airports, so this is a cargo airport connected with rail and plane and, of course, trucks. So that's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. Really cool little intersection here. I really like how this looks, like with the 3-loop approach. So these people here come up here to get across. And so that's how these people get over to here, is using this inner loop. Same with these people over to here. It would have been cool if this road here would have came in this way and sort of curved around to make like a 4th curve, so that it was just like 4 layers of curving. That'd be kind of cool, but it would have kind of made, I think, some of the connecting angles a little bit weird. And we were also trying to consider that we were getting some issues on this roundabout. Unfortunately, we ended up creating a bypass just to sort of cheat the system, because without Traffic Manager mod, we just couldn't get the AI. We were doing all these like goofy little like 1-ways, 3-ways, all this little stuff to try to trick the AI to go where we wanted to go and use the lanes that we wanted to use, but it just became a headache. Once we created this bypass, everything was fine, but I really, really like this interchange here. We ended up doing something kind of similar on this side, but a little bit different. It's only the 2 loops, and instead, to get across, you have to use these tunnels. to get across. So it's a little bit more of a strong diamond, but we do have the monorail sort of piercing through the middle, which I think looks kind of neat. So if we come across here, this is my least favorite part of the city. It's the pig. This is sort of swine central, the eye of the pig, the mouth, the nose of the pig, stuff, so on and so forth. It's sort of like a pig meets like a tread tank meets like a hedgehog. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. It's something weird. But we have, I don't mind the residential neighborhood here, and I like how it kind of bleeds into the downtown. And I actually don't mind the downtown itself. I think it actually looks pretty cool. I like the downtown. Yeah, I like the downtown, and I don't even mind Swine Central proper. This sort of little area here with this roundabout and the Grand Mall and everything. But just overall, building this was one of the huge challenges for me. I hate building in big open areas. We have a little theme park sort of nestled within these tall urban buildings, which is kind of interesting. Never done a theme park inside of a major city before. We have this other little park here, which is really just kind of a walking path. And you can walk amongst the standing stones though, so that's always kind of cool. That's always kind of neat. Making a little, and then this is just sort of like, you know, just regular assets, not park life assets, but just sort of regular parks and things all connected together. We could have come in with more of a Sky Network, I think, for the pedestrians, and that would have been cool, but we just never really came back and spent the time on it. This roundabout actually, like, visually looks great. I think this roundabout actually looks fantastic. We did a lot of things, again, to try to trick the AI to use the right lanes and stuff, but little interchange, just a little bypass for people trying to get up the hill, mostly for the forestry industry. As we come up this hill, we ended up creating this entire mountainy area, essentially just with the extra landscaping tools, and really sculpting it quite a bit and giving it a lot more personality on the base. So this is the Woodgarden map, right, with the Industries DLC. Well, in the base game, this doesn't have this much personality and bumps and stuff, so we really tried to give it a lot of charm, and I think we did. I love this little area that's sort of nestled here. This side, it's sort of like it cliffs down. This side, it sort of, you know, sort of encloses it with hills. I really, really like the tree neighborhood. I think this turned out absolutely fantastically. I love some of these shots where we can kind of see down the roads here, but it sort of curves off. But I think the contrast between the actual neighborhoods, the 3 different neighborhoods, and the main commercial drag is just perfect. It's just the right balance. I love it. I think it turned out great. So we have the forestry here. This I spent literally 15 minutes making. So it doesn't look good. I just dumped it all down just to get it going. I was trying to actually create traffic issues at this point just for the fun of it. Another cargo airport and hub up here. This was getting used insanely when we didn't have the other one. We actually built an air, like just air cargo up here without the rail connection. And it was getting used in, like, people were just loving it. But then once I got this one and that one set up and I got them hooked up to the rail network, no one was using it anymore. So overall, this city, it took us, what, 2.5 weeks to do this city or something? Definitely not as long as the Chatscape. This is just some random project that we kind of unfinished. It's just some helicopter response units for some of the local areas up here. For the most part, there's a lot of really cool things that I like about it. I love the quarry. I love this sort of industrial area here. I like the interchanges that we did. We don't usually do a lot of good interchanges, but I really like this whole area right here. I think it looks fantastic. I really like University Island. I like the road networks here. I like Janky Falls. I like this island. I think we did a really good job here. I mean, for the most part, it's like there's a lot of cool individual things that we can look at and say, I like that, I like that. There's some things I could look at that I wish I did better. For the most part, we're just kind of out of inspiration for this map. It's not finished. It's not like a finished map, but it is kind of a finished city. We've kind of developed where we wanted to develop. Yeah, so thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We're going to be starting a new city soon on the Twitch channel. And yeah, we play City Skylines 3 or 4 times a week on Twitch. And that's where we built the city. That's where we built the Chatscape and the Chat Beach. And I still need to make a video for the Chat Beach, actually. That one kind of got interrupted because of the Industries launch. But so we do need to make a summary of Chat Beach, which will be really cool. I really liked that city. That city was really, really cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully the radio station wasn't too much of a bother there.